again focused on London, as Princess Diana's body was moved in preparation for her funeral, as the Queen tried to make amends with her subjects, as we learn more about Diana's final hours. And then came the word from Calcutta in India that Mother Teresa has died.
The world loses a woman who walked this world in as holy a fashion as anyone I've ever known.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, reporting tonight from London.
Good evening, and that is Westminster Abbey, and it has been a remarkable day. This evening we heard that Mother Teresa had died, and from here across the world for the second time in a week, much of the world was suddenly faced with the loss of someone they had admired or revered. Mother Teresa, the symbol of selfless giving to so much of the world, died in India today at the age of 87. First, here's ABC's Aaron Brown.
Mother Teresa died in the mission that she founded in Calcutta. She had just completed Mass and had returned to her room. A member of her order in Rome confirmed the cause of her death.
We know that she died because of heart failure.
Calcutta was her home and its poor her inspiration. Tonight there are tears in the slums of that city from the people she called the poorest of the poor.
It's massive crowd. Police has been called in to handle the crowds. There's a lot of rush and crush going on at the moment. So it's a lot of people, a lot of chaos in front of the Mother House at the moment.
But Calcutta was just the beginning. Mother Teresa's order operated around the world, including more than 24 clinics in the United States. There was an adoption agency in Washington, a mission in the Bronx, and at New York's St. Patrick's Cathedral tonight, there was shock. Just last year, Mother Teresa became only the 5th person ever to receive honorary U.S. citizenship.
She served the poor, the suffering, and the dying. And in so doing, she served as an inspiration and a challenge to all the rest of us. If ever there was a pure heart, it was hers.
While she met with and often influenced most every important leader of our time, her greatest influence was on the nuns who followed her. 18 of them worked at St. Malachi's Church in Chicago, a church in Mother Teresa's kind of neighborhood.
What Mother Teresa was about is that she inspired a tremendous group of people to act out these behaviors of compassion.
There was this from a mission in Los Angeles.
That she will never be replaced. Who can cover the world the way she did? It's impossible.
Sunday, in her last public statement, Mother Teresa said this about Princess Diana.
Because she has such a position, so she could not actually come and work with us.
Just yesterday, it was announced that Mother Teresa would not attend Diana's funeral, that her health was too fragile, but there was no suggestion that she was gravely ill or near death. Peter?
Aaron, thank you very much. There'll be so many anecdotes and stories about Mother Teresa. Last year, she told Prince Michael of Greece that she had had a dream. I was at the gates of heaven, she said, and St. Peter told me, go back to earth. There are no slums up here. ABC's Bill Blakemore tells us tonight more about the life of this remarkable woman.
Mother Teresa astonished the world as she showed people everywhere the face and quality of mercy. It was not strained. Of course, we have to help these people, she would say. They are the beautiful ones who need more, so should be given it first. The dying, those with nobody.
How lovable they are, how great they are. I think none of us could live how they live. And day after day, to see their own children hungry and sick and without any help. And yet they are so great to be able to face life as they do.
She was born in 1910 to wealthy parents in what would later become Yugoslavia. When she was 12, as she told it, she heard her first call to become a nun. She took her vows when she was 18 and left to serve her order in Calcutta, where her cloister looked out on some of India's worst slums.
One day I picked up a man from the street who was eaten up once already. And I took him to our house. And he said, I've lived like an animal in the street, but I'm going to die as an angel, loved and cared. I've never seen a smile radiating in anybody's face as I saw on the face of that man.
The message was clear, she said. She was to leave her cloister, help the poor, and live among them. For her order, she adopted the white sari of India's poor. Her works soon inspired donations, honors, the Nobel Peace Prize.
In the name of the hungry, of the naked, of the homeless, of the crippled, of the blind, in their name, I accept the award.
With her growing influence, she set out around the world and established more than 230 houses of charity in 60 countries on 6 continents. In New York, an AIDS hospice. She said, whenever you look at someone you know is dying, you look at a person who is closest to God. On her travels, she also spoke out frequently against abortion and birth control, backing up the position of her great admirer, Pope John Paul II. For years, Catholics have talked of sainthood in this tiny, quick woman. For everyone, she proved the old saying that the most powerful form of leadership is example. Bill Blakemore, ABC News.
We'll come back to Mother Teresa a little later in the broadcast. With all the vast attention that the Princess of Wales has had this week, we've come to learn almost everyone she ever knew. And she and Mother Teresa each describe themselves as friends. There they are seeing each other in New York City, and Diana had been out to India to see her as well. Mother Teresa often said she was surprised that Diana, who had such a prominent position in the world, would come to a place like this. She said that in our earlier report. The truth is, Mother Teresa was accustomed to meeting the high and the mighty as well as the absolutely lowly. And take a look down here just outside Westminster Abbey tonight. These people are here in preparation for Diana's funeral tomorrow, but the shock we've seen some of around the world tonight about Mother Teresa is felt very much here as well. When we come back, the preparations for Diana's funeral.
Accusations of negligence against the Ritz, which the family owns, and to show how the princess was hounded by the paparazzi that night. Diana is seen taking refuge inside the Ritz.
You'll see the princess and Mr. Dodi, because of the attention inside the restaurant, they actually decide to have a meal in their room.
That's their driver, Henri Paul, entering the hotel, talking to the staff.
Henri Paul did not have any appearance of being overexcited and drunk as a pig, a quotation which incidentally appears again in the Evening Standard this evening.
But we cannot smell Henri Paul's breath in these pictures, and French police still insist his blood alcohol level was more than 3 times the legal limit that night. As a growing crowd of photographers gathered in front of the hotel, Diana and Dodi went to the rear entrance of the Ritz and, arm in arm, awaited their chance to sneak away. At 12:19 a.m. on the security clock, they made their break. With no paparazzi in sight, the black Mercedes heads off into the Parisian night and an appointment in a tunnel from which they would never emerge. Anthony Mason, CBS News, Paris.
Back here at London's Westminster Abbey, just behind me over here, Big Ben and Parliament deep back on the other side. The funeral is still hours away.
Palace to Kensington Palace, so that tomorrow the route to Westminster Abbey will be longer than originally planned. And tonight, as you can see, thousands and thousands of people stood silently in the streets as the hearse went by. Tonight in London, the mood is utterly different than it has been in the last several days. It may not be that easy for the rest of the world to understand, but this afternoon, when the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh and Prince Charles, the 2 sons he had with Diana, made public appearances here in London, the anti-royal feeling that had been so evident since Diana was killed began to evaporate.
The public demonstration of emotion that seemed to consume Britain this week has finally involved the royal family in person. This afternoon, Prince Charles, with 15-year-old Prince William and 12-year-old Prince Harry, returned from seclusion in Scotland and went first to Kensington Palace, where Diana had lived since their divorce. However demanding it was for the boys, it was precisely what the public had wanted. The public sympathy for the two boys has been enormous, but the public did want to see them. With astonishing grace, under the circumstances, the boys accepted flowers which had been brought for their mother and laid them at her gates. There is now a shortage of flowers in Britain.
That's very kind. Thank you very much.
Shortly afterwards, when the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh arrived at Buckingham Palace, first to see another vast bank of flowers, and then to spend time talking to people on the streets, it appeared to many that faith was being restored between the people and the monarch.
Since last Sunday's dreadful news.
And then, from a front room at Buckingham Palace, with the crowd seen beneath her, the Queen made an unprecedented live appearance on television. As Queen and grandmother, she said, she would share in the people's determination to cherish Diana's memory.
We have all been Diana's loss and gratitude for her all too short life.
Millions of people, of course, stood still to hear what the Queen said, but how were her comments received by the British people in general? Even before she had spoken, as we said, a great deal of the anger at the royal family had actually begun to fade. Here's ABC's Jim Wooten.
By this morning, the royal family's efforts were already bearing at least some fruit.
It's funny, how things changed overnight.
Breakfast television in London.
There's nothing more moving and more enabling than what it amounts to an apology, is there?
Apparently not, for many of the same people in papers feeding the anti-royal sentiment all week long switch gears today. Look at these gentle headlines.
Well, personally, I think that the press has treated them slightly unfairly.
British public opinion is clearly flexible, and in this tumultuous week, richly jumbled.
I think they've damaged themselves beyond repair.
Julia Masters saw the Queen today outside St. James's Palace.
And a wonderful experience for me to see the Queen so close. But I'm afraid, no, I think they've let Diana down dreadfully.
This woman met her inside while signing the condolences book.
It's very sad, very sad. What can I say? You know, Queen Elizabeth II looks sad to me.
This woman from Wales was angry with the Queen.
Well, yes. But today, after seeing her today, oh, no.
Thank God for someone who made many, many people happy.
Her Majesty the Queen speaking from Buckingham Palace.
I don't think she said what people really want to hear from the royal family.
You've seen the sort of comments she made, and it's plastic. It wasn't real at all.
The Queen had tears in her eyes when she spoke. You could see that.
What I really wanted her to say was that she loved Diana personally. And she said she respected her, which made a difference to me.
Obviously, there are still some differences of opinion here in London. But clearly, and nevertheless, something quite powerful has happened here this week. Whether or not the royal family has changed public opinion with their public mourning, in response to public demand, they've clearly tried. Peter?
Thank you, Jim. That Power of the Streets, as you well know, is on the streets again tonight. Diana's family has changed the site where she will be buried. It will no longer be where it had originally planned, but now on an island within the grounds of Althorp Park, her family's ancestral home, 80 miles north of London. And this location will be open for public viewing several weeks every year. We are told Diana was originally going to be buried in the family vault there within the village church nearby, but her brother apparently feared that the church would not be able to handle the crowds. When we come back, we shall have a last glimpse of Diana just before she got into that car in Paris, as our coverage from overseas continues. From Paris tonight, there are more details about Diana's last evening with Dodi El Fayed, her companion. The Fayed family appears today to have gone to enormous lengths to make it as clear as they can that the family is not at all responsible for Diana's death. Today, they released footage from a security camera at the Ritz Hotel, which they owned, where Dodi and Diana had dinner. ABC's Sheila McVicker is in Paris.
They came to Paris to escape prying lenses. But by the time Princess Diana in white jeans and Dodi Fayed pulled up at the Ritz Hotel just before 10 p.m. last Saturday night, photographers were waiting. They ran for the door. Like all big hotels, the Ritz has security cameras everywhere. And Mohammed Al Fayed, owner of the Ritz and father of Dodi, used these images today to make his point that his staff was not negligent. At 8 minutes past 10, the man who would drive them to their death, Henri Paul, arrived back at the hotel. He had been off duty for 3 hours. French prosecutors say that night Paul was criminally drunk. Police sources say he had 3 times the legal limit of alcohol in his blood. Over the course of 2 hours, Paul was recorded talking to senior hotel staff. He was not seen going to the bar. He does not appear visibly drunk. Spokesman for Mr. Al Fayed said these images proved their contention Henri Paul was not drunk.
If Monsieur Paul was culpable, then he deserves to be condemned. But we owe it to everyone to now examine the evidence.
At 6 minutes past midnight, the princess and Dodi Fayed prepared to leave. Out front, the crowd of photographers and tourists was growing, surrounding the cars and drivers that should have taken them away. They decided to use the back door. 12:19. With Dodi's arm around Diana's waist, they waited for the car. Henri Paul and the bodyguard, Trevor Rees-Jones, checked the street. At 12:20, the Mercedes pulled up outside. The street was empty. There were no photographers. The Al Fayed family claimed there is no sign of the driver challenging photographers to catch him, as has been charged. Quickly, in the dark street, the couple can just be glimpsed, Diana's white jeans reflecting the car's taillights. The Mercedes slowly and unaccompanied pulled away. The Al Fayeds confirmed today that Dodi had given Diana a diamond ring, and at his apartment his family found other evidence of the couple's affection. A gold cigar cutter inscribed, "With love from Diana," and a pair of her father's cufflinks given to Dodi. And at the apartment, waiting for her under her pillow, was a silver tray inscribed with a poem Dodi had written for her. His family has asked that she be buried with it. Sheila McVicker, ABC News, Paris.
Barbara Walters has been talking to Mohammed Al Fayed, Dodi's father, and she'll have that interview later this evening on 2020. Our reporting is going to continue on Nightline, followed by World News Now, and then our extended coverage of the funeral itself begins at 5 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow morning. And given the interest in the world, we hope you'll join us. When we come back, we'll have some...
Filled with nursery rhymes as a teacher's aide at the Young England School. One of her little ones was 3-year-old Lindsay Spencer, no relation, who today is a junior at Pitzer College outside Los Angeles.
I remember her as just a really sweet, kind woman who took care of me during my nursery school hours.
When the woman they knew as Miss Diana left school 16 years ago to become Her Royal Highness, the children sent congratulations, and Diana wrote each of them back on Buckingham Palace stationery. Dearest Lindsay, I miss you all very much, but hope to come for a visit quite soon. Until then, be good. Lots of love, Miss Diana.
She was a young, innocent woman who just seemed naturally to be a teacher, and it was very surprising to me when she went on to have this whole career of glamour and style as a princess and internationally renowned figure. It was interesting to think that I once had any contact with her, but it wasn't the same Miss Diana that I knew.
The Diana the world came to know remained committed to children, a devotion that now defines much of her legacy, and much of the memory her former student holds dear.
It was almost impossible to me that she had died.
And impossible for Lindsay Spencer to forget the woman who held her as a child and went on to be embraced by the world. Kelly O'Donnell, NBC News, Los Angeles.
That was appealing about her. We have turned her into a plaster saint, a perfect person.
I think it's been a really grossly infantilizing week of coverage where no concept of objectivity, no concept of detachment, no concept of covering a story rather than making a story has been allowed to intrude.
I think this all would have happened without us. If we had decided that this wasn't a story after a couple of days, or had done the proper amount of respect and deference and then gone on to other news, I think the people, not just here and in England, but everywhere, would have still gone on mourning.
To deify Princess Diana and make her into an icon robs all of us from the potential of pursuing dreams, taking enormous risks, and realizing them. We are living vicariously through her.
The question is, why the deification? And I think the answer is that our era is defined by celebrity worship. It's the empty faith of the latter part of the 20th century.
I don't have to analyze it and psychoanalyze it. It seems to me that I look at it and it says that this woman has struck a much deeper chord with the people than any of us knew.
A reporter from Britain's ITN interviewed Mother Teresa this morning and discussed her plans to attend an all-faith prayer meeting tomorrow for Princess Diana.
I spoke to her briefly, privately, after the Mass this morning, and one of the reasons I did that was to talk about Princess Diana and some of the plans that they were having to mark the funeral tomorrow of Princess Diana in London, and they were arranging a special Mass in respect of Diana. And I'd asked Mother Teresa about how she was, about her own health. But each time I did so, she turned the question round and was curious to know about how the death of Diana had been received by the British public, and to talk about how tragic that had been, the death of what she called a good, kind person. There was certainly close affinity between the two of them. They'd met on a number of occasions. But that in many respects was quite typical, in that she was more concerned to turn the attention towards others, or towards the nature of her work.
President Clinton calls Mother Teresa a giant of our time. He says if ever there was a pure heart, it was hers. And Harry accompanied Diana's body to Kensington Palace. Tomorrow, her coffin will be escorted from there to Westminster Abbey. Outside Buckingham and Kensington Palaces, Queen Elizabeth and the princes accepted flowers, shook hands, and thanked mourners. Diana's sons appeared calm and poised as they talked with the crowd. Their grandmother, the Queen, praised Diana in a rare line.
The Ritz Hotel security tape shows a lot, but proves little. The tape shows some of the last moments in the lives of Princess Diana and her companion, Dodi Fayed. It shows them entering the Ritz Hotel. It shows them moving about. And then it shows Dodi Fayed with his arm around the princess just before departing the hotel. There are several angles of their departure. There seems to be no sign of photographers as the pair make their way out of the back exit of the hotel. But a viewpoint at the front clearly shows crowds of both photographers and onlookers. Al Fayed family spokesman claimed photographers can be seen racing to waiting motorcycles on the left of the screen, set to pursue the couple. The spokesman also claimed the footage proves driver Henri Paul was not drunk. He's seen talking and moving around both in and out of the hotel.
Let me repeat what I've said before. We condemn drink driving in the strongest possible terms. I have not come here to defend the indefensible.
But the claims and footage are far from conclusive. Paris police say driver Henri Paul had a blood alcohol level 3 times over the legal limit. And photographers continue to deny any responsibility for causing the crash. 10 are now under investigation and find themselves under intense media scrutiny. The photographers say they're scapegoats, blamed before a thorough police probe is completed.
The judge has to examine and to investigate on every plant. And of course, he has to know what could be the different causes or the only cause of the crash.
One possible cause to be re-examined was driver Henri Paul intoxicated or not. He was to have been buried in his hometown on Saturday. The funeral has been delayed. There's speculation his family has requested another blood alcohol test to clear his name. The pressure to come up with a cause increased on news. Princess Diana's family has filed a civil suit in connection with her death. That makes the family privy to information from the ongoing criminal investigation into the cause of the crash. A second French judge has been assigned to solve this very high-profile case. Jackie Szymanski, CNN, Paris.
It seems Fayed gave Diana a ring just hours before they died. The Al Fayed family spokesman, Michael Cole, says the ring was worth more than $200,000. He does not know the significance of it. Cole says Diana had time to make her last wishes known before she died. He says she conveyed them to someone who helped her during her final hours, and those wishes have been passed on to the intended people. At the Globe tabloid, fallout in the wake of Diana's death. The chief spokeswoman for the paper has quit. Terry Raskin says she's angry the paper didn't rule out running graphic photographs of the accident that killed Diana. The Globe denies her claim.